racing holds in special admiration those incredible eras when a car, a team, a driver combined for monumental achievements. In 1952 and 53, Ferrari captured 9 victories in a row, 11 wins in 15 races, and 2 straight World Driving Championships. It was when Alberto Ascari was at his greatest. In 1967 and 68, the most famous stock car in the world, the Petty Plymouth, won 43 of 97 races. In 1 year, Petty won 10 races in a row. In 1978 and 79, Porsche's Peter Gregg won back-to-back championships on the International Motorsports Association Camel GT sports car circuit. He registered an incredible 16 victories in 29 races. In 1988, Jeff Brabham drove a single Nissan GTP ZX Turbo to the finest single season in GT history. 8 consecutive victories, 10 wins in 13 starts, and the Series Driving Championship. The 1989 challenge for Nissan was to build on that beginning and to do more than win races and championships. The challenge was to create a new motorsports dynasty. San Antonio, Texas, where Davy Crockett and Jim Bowie put up their greatest scrap, the never-to-be-forgotten 1836 struggle for Texas's independence, the Battle of the Alamo. This year's San Antonio was the site of a motorsports battle that had a touch of that Texas stand-up-and-fight tradition. In an incredible season last year, Nissan had won the most races. They had won the Drivers' Championship, but the crown jewel, the Manufacturers' Championship, had eluded them. Here, on these streets, a showdown at high noon against 2 adversaries could bring the Manufacturers' title within their grasp. They also came here for revenge. It was here that a broken drive shaft brought Nissan's record-breaking win streak to a halt. At the end of that season, Porsche beat Nissan for the ImSA manufacturer title by a single point. The Nissan team felt the loss at San Antonio had been the costly difference. In 1989, 4 Porsches blistered the San Antonio pavement, again intent on derailing the Nissan effort. John Andretti and '88 San Antonio champion James Weaver led the Nissan opponent. The Jaguar team, second to Nissan going into this race for the Manufacturers' Cup, rolled out 3 cars. Bryce Cobb, co-driver with James Weaver in the car that defeated the Nissan in 1988, was the leading driver for the English team. The Jaguar strategy was to give Cobb whatever he needed. Let him use whichever of these cars that best suited him, putting the designated spare in the transporter. Usually, Brabham and co-driver Chip Robinson share a single car in ImSA endurance racing. Given the importance of this Nissan Grand Prix of San Antonio, they would start and race the regular as well as the support car, with hopes that the small team could score extra points toward the Manufacturers' Championship. Robinson sat atop the timesheets for much of qualifying, but with minutes to go, Brabham edged his teammate in record time for his 6th pole position to Robinson's 2. More importantly, Nissan would start the race 1st and 2nd. Jaguar was 3rd and 4th, with Porsche relegated to 7th and 9th. The Nissan Grand Prix of San Antonio dawned as usual, sunny and Texas hot. Another challenge for the 43 drivers. The final hours before a race are endless for a driver and crewman. By necessity, it often demands full nights of work on eves of races. Every detail checked and rechecked. And if all is in readiness, it leads to simply waiting in the final hours to post time, reflecting on what was and what might have been. Daytona, first race of the season, and the Nissan GTP ZX's team's first appearance in the 24-hour classic. Despite new rules to curb the Nissan, Brabham swept to the pole. The car finally rolled to a stop with an engine problem after 15 hours of leadership. John Andretti, Derek Bell, and Bob Wallach's Porsche took the checkers. The fact that Nissan led more laps than any other team was in itself a victory.
It's not really hard, but you know, it's a kind of a pity because everybody's worked so hard and really gone so very, very well. But I'll tell you, we're pretty darn delighted because it was so much fun just smoking everybody, and we came here to race, and we will be back to race. And if you're going to race and you're going to race hard, we're going to be there. We will be the guys to beat.
At Sebring, Florida, Nissan made its first 12-hour appearance. At the finish, they had lapped the field twice, eloquently dispelling the notion that the Nissan was unsuited to the rigors of world-class endurance racing.
I think it was one of those races that something that was quite an accomplishment. It was a major milestone accomplished this year, and so from my point of view, I think you know, it's the first I'll call it truly internationally known race of you know, some prominence that we won.
Winning Sebring meant a lot to me because I've raced there for a long, long time, and it was a neat thing. I really enjoyed that a lot. That was great. It was, and it was a real, you know, a benchmark for the company and for the team and the car because, as I say, we didn't go fast for 3/4 of the race or something. We went out, stood on the gas, and stayed on it the entire length of time.
This Grand Prix of San Antonio, just 2 hours long, was a different kind of race than Daytona or Sebring. Only 1.67 miles around, studded with 11 turns. The Texas heat caused it to become dangerously slippery in sections. It has tight corners and very narrow chicanes, as Howard Katz found out.
You know, I feel the more difficult the racetrack is, the more off-cambered it is and the rougher it is, the more advantage the good teams have. And I think that's been one of our keys this year, is our ability to sort the car out quicker than everybody else. So when we come to a place like this where we have a lot less time and it's a very difficult track, I think it's a great advantage for us.
Composed of mean city streets, San Antonio is similar to the Miami circuit, where Nissan scored their first season win in March. It's lined by concrete, punctuated by treacherous curbs and manhole covers. It is also a bit like West Palm Beach, where they could manage no better than 6th, again to the winning Porsche of John Andretti. Despite having experienced both good and bad fortune on street circuits, Brabham and Robinson had no qualms on one issue as they headed for the San Antonio starting grid: the preparation of their cars and the support of their superb pit crew. In the Nissan Grand Prix of Road Atlanta, a tire vibration brought the car to the pits with just 12 laps to go. The talented Nissan crew had it on its way within seconds. Jeff Brabham then caught and passed Prix for a thrilling victory.
You know, it goes in cycles. You know, we got to make hay while the sun shines, and you know, at any time now we can lose one of these things, and so I'll take them when I can get them.
At Connecticut's Lime Rock Park, lightning-quick pit stops allowed Brabham to maintain a comfortable lead and take another victory on the Camel GT circuit. At Mid-Ohio and at Wisconsin's Road America, Brabham and Robinson teamed for a pair of victories, aided by the work of the Nissan team under Don Devendorf and crew chief Ashley Page. At Watkins Glen, superb pit work once again allowed the Nissan to take the checkered flag. And at the new Heartland Park track in Kansas, Brabham and Robinson had driven separate Nissans to a 1-2 sweep. The 8th win of the year put the hope of a manufacturer's title squarely on the outcome of San Antonio.
Gentlemen, start your engines!
This is the San Antonio Grand Prix, the race the Nissan team wanted to win more than any other, not only for the manufacturer's championship, but also to avenge the disaster of 1988, when this track had ended their string of 8 straight wins. Team owner Don Devendorf and team manager Kaz Kastner had keyed nearly a month's effort on this one race. Even more, their company sponsored the event.
They come toward the green starting flag for this year's San Antonio Grand Prix. On the front row, side by side, the superbly prepared Nissan CX Turbos. Can they do it again?
After all that effort, what could possibly go wrong? Here's Ken Squire's call of the start.
In all, 28 cars going for green. And on the break, the Nissans tangle. They tear each other up. 84 and 83, both crashing at turn 1. 84 is Chip Robinson. 83 is Brabham. Here's the 84 trying to get refired. We want to see that one again, Tom Blackwaller. On the start, the Nissans have knocked each other out.
That was a team's nightmare, Ken, to have the 2 leading cars run into each other at the first turn.
Brabham and Robinson, their cars suffering only slight damage, rejoined the race in 10th and 14th places. 7 times in 11 races that year, the Nissan had come from behind to win, but not against these odds. Was the San Antonio jinx about to strike again?
The Jaguar goes out in front. The Toyota goes into second place. An incredible circumstance to begin this 3rd annual San Antonio Grand Prix. And remember that although Nissan has dominated in the past 2 seasons, Nissan's not done well here at all. Brabham running 10th. Jeff Brabham, and you can see the nose just a little bit shaded there, a little bit. Let's go to Rick DeBrule for an update.
Has he reported back any problems?
No, we don't seem to have problems right now. We're just running normal lap times, and we're just trying to make our margin back up, get back in the race.
So far, there are no...
No, it doesn't appear to be any problems at all.
Ashley Page.
Ashley Page out of Wilson County, North Carolina. Crew chief down there, and he has to be a little anxious right now.
This is absolutely not the kind of way you want to start a race like this, at a circuit like this. It's hot, it's grueling, it's tough, and you have to be so precise, and now Jeff's got to make up room.
Now Chip Robinson is in 11th after that altercation on the start that had the 2 Nissans knocking each other out. You don't see that very often.
What's unfortunate for Howard is certainly fortunate for Jeff and Chip right now, because this gives them an opportunity to get a little bit closer.
Gives them a restart.
Absolutely, and cool everything down a little bit, because they've both been running extremely hard at this point.
Yeah, the half a lap that they lost, now they make up. Luckily, after the collision, neither car was damaged or damaged noticeably, so they're back in the race, and they're going to look to charge to the front.
We'll be back with more of the action here at the Nissan San Antonio Grand Prix after these messages.
Brabham and Robinson moved back through the San Antonio traffic. Did they know how lucky they were?
Look at it again. Doc Bundy.
Chip moving over behind Jeff, but he just got in too tight and hit him right in the back end, right when Jeff was on the brakes. It spins them both out.
They were about to get luckier. Arch rival Jaguar suffered a team wipeout. Davy Jones fell out of the lead with a blown engine. Frenchman Michel Ferté lost traction and spun into the wall. James Weaver had nowhere to go. 2 leading contenders gone in an $800,000 T-bone crash. Let's listen in on the race call.
And it looks like here Bob Earl has just been taken by Jeff Brabham. And behind Jeff is Chip Robinson, about 2 cars behind Jeff. So both of the Nissans are now back in the race.
Directly in front of us here, start-finish line, and down to turn 1. You're riding with Brabham in the Nissan, right where he was punted by Robinson, and they both spun out on the initial lap on the first turn, right to the wall.
You see him fighting that wheel where he had oversteer.
Watch him go through the chicane. Boom.
The new leader was Toyota, with Willie T. ribs up, but not for long, as the Toyota shed its engine cover at over 100 miles an hour.
And here's the big beneficiary, the Nissan car, Ken. These guys are now running 2nd and 3rd with a damaged Willie T. ribs in front of them. So the Nissan cars are getting a big boost from the Jaguars being out of this race.
Leader will be pitting right about now. Car number 99, Willie T. Ribbs, electing to bring that car in with that tail section gone.
John Andretti's Porsche threatened for the lead until he spun off the racing line and fell several places back. By midway, Brabham and Robinson were back on top.
Here we have car number 83, Jeff Brabham, doing it like he's done it all season long, just motoring out in front. But who would have believed it at the start? When they came down, these two cars, 83 and 84, in the front row, and they took each other out at turn one. The field scooting by. We had Jaguar out in front. For a while, we had Toyota out in front. But this track, ominous place, just really raises Cain with leaders, and it tore up those top cars. And once again, the Nissans are persevering, coming back through traffic, working their way back up on top. Little battle for the lead developing here. And do you think there's some orders that are being passed out between 83 and 84, gentlemen?
I don't think there's any written orders, but I'm not sure I would want to pass Jeff.
Well, Chip Robinson's 12 points behind Jeff in the season, and this is Chip's chance to maybe get a little boost, but I'm sure he'll be very, very careful. The important thing for Nissan is to have their team finish in front, whether they finish 1-2 Brabham, Robinson, or the other way around. I don't think is that important to this team effort.
Brabham's San Antonio luck, or lack of it, had the last word. The damage from the first lap incident and the strain of having to catch up finally caught up with the Australian ace, who was forced to retire with 10 laps to go. But unlike 1988, when it was a single-car Nissan effort, this time Chip Robinson was there to inherit the lead.
It's unfortunate for Jeff, but certainly fortunate for Chip.
Here's the new leader in the race, Chip Robinson, who will be leading the Camel GT standings if he finishes the race in first place.
Fighting off a game, Drake Olson, Robinson brought Nissan the needed victory, his first solo win. It had been a difficult day.
As Chip Robinson comes from disaster in lap one, climbs back up the ladder, and he'll be drinking the champagne. Just a great return after a very hard start.
A very hard start indeed. But once again, the Nissan team persevered as it had the entire year. Having broken the jinx from San Antonio, the Camel GT Series was all Nissan. At California's Sears Point Raceway, Brabham and Robinson were unstoppable. They posted their second 1-2 finish of the season, clinching the first ImSA Manufacturers Championship for Nissan and avenging the 1-point loss of 1988.
To win the manufacturer's title, I think really meant a lot to Nissan after coming so close last year, missing it by 1 point. To come back this year and win that, and to win the driver's championship for either Jeff or I, really means a tremendous amount, and I'm very proud to have been part of it.
At Del Mar, California, Jeff Brabham wrapped up his second straight drivers' championship, making it a clean sweep for Nissan. But the race that will be talked about for years to come will be San Antonio. On some teams, the events of San Antonio would result in harsh words or cold shoulders. Not on the Nissan team.
Do you replay that in your mind?
No, not anymore, because it all turned out well. I would say probably if it hadn't turned out the way it has,
Ever since, though,
I would have. I don't know if I would have shown my face again. But.
So is it true after it happened, the first thing you said is, "Do I still have a job?" Is that right?
Certainly, that's what I thought.
Nissan's domination of the 1989 Camel GT Series was complete. But more importantly, the manufacturer's crown belonged to Nissan for the first time. Brabham and Robinson were first and second in driver points. They finished second in the Kodak ImSA Pit Crew Championship. The Holbert Trophy was awarded to Brabham by the media as Outstanding Driver of the Year.
Our record speaks for itself the last 2 years, really. You don't win as many races as I have or win 2 championships without having a car that gets you to the finish line. And there's so many of our guys here that it would be unfair to signal each one out individually. All I can say is that they give me 110%, and it's so easy for me to get in the car and give them 110% back. And I love them all, and they just do the most fantastic job I've ever been associated with. Thank you very much.
During the past 2 Camel GT seasons, Jeff Brabham put his Nissan GTP ZX Turbo on the pole 15 times in 27 races, winning 18 of those starts. Brabham's 2-year winning percentage compares well against the giants of the game. Alberto Ascari had a phenomenal 75% winning percentage in 1952 and 1953. Richard Petty's greatest days in 67 and 68 saw him win 44% of his events. Porsche's 55% winning record with Peter Gregg in 1978 and 79 was the high mark in ImSA GT racing until the past 2 years, when Nissan won a phenomenal 66% of its races. Nissan claims it's only the beginning. They look to the 90s as the decade of their dynasty.
Just now, I just came from a debriefing about some things where we've got to change because it's not good enough. Because, I mean, we've been the benchmark this year, but now you got to move the bench because moving the mark isn't far enough. You've got to move the bench now, and that's what we're going to do.